beating expectations. Why do people keep underestimating this economy?
Well, there has been a lot of pessimism about the economy that's really proven unwarranted. A year ago, most forecasters believed we would fall into a recession. Obviously, that hasn't happened. We have a good, strong labor market. Today's news, as you mentioned, showed that the unemployment rate remains low, and we added 216,000 jobs. Now, the pace of job creation over the last 3 months averages 165. That's down from a year ago when the economy was still recovering from the pandemic. But it's something that's expected and desirable, consistent with an economy that is now recovered and is transitioned to stable and steady growth. So the labor market continues to fire on all cylinders. Other reports this week, a low level of initial claims for unemployment insurance, job openings remain at healthy levels. And importantly, inflation has come way down. Over the last 6 months, the measure that the Fed watches most has been running right at their target of 2%. And Americans are beginning to feel that, and some surveys are suggesting that they're becoming more optimistic, which is something that's really good to see, because price increases have slowed substantially. Some important prices have fallen noticeably. The majority of gas stations around the country, a gallon of gas is now selling for under $3 a barrel. Used car prices have come down. There's more work to do on the inflation front. Some important prices, food prices and apartment rentals remain high, but we're really making progress. President Biden's approach has been to do everything he can to spur that improvement, keeping energy prices down, creating good jobs through an Invest in America agenda, and wages are increasing. Today we saw average hourly earnings up 4.1%. So wage increases are running over price increases now. American workers are getting ahead, and the progress for the middle income families is very noticeable.
We have that chart up on the screen so people can see. Yes, wage growth is outpacing inflation. And as you noted, some surveys are beginning to show that consumers are feeling a little better about the economy. But that's from a really low point because they felt lousy about it in poll after poll after poll. So what will it take, do you think, for inflation not to be a story anymore?
Well, we had a period, the pandemic was difficult, and we had a period in which prices rose a great deal in a short time. So I think we need to see a sustained period of low inflation with wages growing, as you showed in the graph, more rapidly than inflation, for people to feel good about their future prospects. As you mentioned, we're beginning to see that in surveys. I believe if this is maintained over the next year, as I fully hope and expect it will be, that Americans will feel good. They're spending in ways that suggest they're happy with their financial circumstances. We're seeing a huge number of new businesses being formed, and investment in American businesses that suggest confidence in the future of the economy. I think those are all good signs. And it is very rare to bring down inflation as much as we have without seeing a weakening in the job market. But we have 23 months in a row unemployment under 40%. Haven't seen that in 50 years.
So the soft landing, did it happen?
What we're seeing now, I think we can describe as a soft landing. and my hope is that it will continue.
So you did it.
Well, the American people did it. The American people go to work every day, participate in the labor market, form new businesses. But President Biden has tried to create incentives that give Americans the tools they need to help this economy grow. We have 3 huge pieces of legislation investing in American infrastructure, spurring private investment in semiconductors and in clean energy, and that's really sparking a growth, especially in manufacturing jobs in the United States.
There is concern what's happening in the Middle East, specifically in the Red Sea, with some shipping companies now diverting traffic away from there, away from Suez, and having, extending their routes by some 2 weeks. What concerns do you have for the supply chain and the idea that that might increase prices?
Well, this is something we're watching very closely, and yesterday the United States and other countries joined together to issue a statement saying that this disruption of shipping in the Red Sea is really a concern and unacceptable. But we actually have ample supplies of oil, and we're not seeing any effect at all. Energy prices have been quite stable. It's true that shipping costs have gone up somewhat, which affects especially shipping between Asia and Europe, but we've really not seen any meaningful effect in the United States. But this is an international challenge we need to work together with other countries to address.
I'm going to let you go, Treasury Secretary, but you sat in Jerome Powell's office before making the same types of decisions he's about to make. The jobs report out today. How do you think it will impact his decision of when to cut interest rates?
So I'm not going to comment on what the Fed should do or is likely to do. I think the path the labor market and economy and inflation have followed suggests they've made a set of good decisions, and we'll get some more inflation data. If it stays down, that will be good news for the Fed and something I know they'll take into account in their future rate decisions.
I'm also sure they appreciate you not commenting much further than that. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I asked, John Berman delivered.
I tried.
You do good, John. You do good. All right, Oscar Pistorius, the double amputee Olympian turned convicted murderer, is out of prison. Why he was freed after killing his girlfriend and what her family is saying about that.
This video is sponsored by Porofessor, which is an app and overlay that gives you a huge advantage when you play League. So you can use it to import the best runes quickly during Champ Select. You get insights into how well your opponents are playing, if your teammates are on their one trick or if they're first.
25 minutes, then we go ahead and put it in the blender.
Exactly. Now there's one more ingredient which I didn't mention, which was the cinnamon stick.
Yes,
which
and I
we
will
do.
get the cinnamon sticks right here.
And now, and it's very important that the cinnamon stick is removed when we blend our soup.
Yes, it'll be very cinnamony if we do that too, and probably a little hard.
I like to use cinnamon stick as opposed to ground cinnamon because the flavor's more pure. It's more of a natural flavor. So we'll let that simmer gently, and then we'll blend it.
Okay, terrific. Let's go
Okay.
ahead and put it in the blender.
Okay.
And this is going to be nice and thick after we blend it up.
Yeah. Okay, there we
Okay.
go.
So we're just going to blend this up on a low speed.
Low speed, yeah.
You go look at this. How does that look?
Looks great. It's
Okay.
nice and smooth. The vegetables are all well pureed.
Okay, so that's all pureed now. So
Yes.
it's all smooth just the way we want it. And now what do we need to do?
Return it to the pot.
Okay.
We bring it back to the boil. Thank Thank you. We're going to correct the consistency if that's necessary. And
So how do you correct the
season,
consistency?
by adding more vegetable.
So if it's too thick, we're going to add a little more of the stock.
a little of the stock.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's too thin, we can let it simmer for a longer period of time. It'll reduce a little bit. Some of that moisture will be evaporated.
Right.
What at this point, what I'll do, I'll taste it to see where we're at with the salt and the pepper, and certainly we're going to add our honey. So the honey we can just go ahead and add first, and then
And that's agave nectar, and that actually has a little bit of a lower glycemic index, which is what we're using now.
exactly, a much better alternative to honey. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and taste this. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
So this is some soup, so that's pretty much all done, right?
Yes, our soup is ready to be served.
Once the soup is done, Chef Savage just adds a simple garnish and it was on to our fresh spring rolls.
What's going to go into the spring rolls?
I've got bib lettuce, rice noodles, mango, carrots, cucumber, jicama, and cilantro mint. We've got a sweet chili sauce here to accompany the spring roll, and scallion.
The fresh spring rolls use rice paper, which you can find in almost any Asian market.
At this point, our wrap is at the right amount of pliability.
Okay.
Take a piece of lettuce.
So it's kind of the base. It's just the
That's the
lettuce.
base, exactly. And I don't want to spread the ingredients too far out toward the edges, of course, because we're going to roll the edges in and make it neat. Take a quantity of our rice noodles here. Now, these rice noodles, once again, they're an Asian ingredient, and they're quite easy to prepare. But the best way is to soak them in warm water until they're soft, then blanch them in boiling water, and they take about 2 minutes. So we'll take some mango here, a couple of pieces.
And all this has tons of enzymes because these are all raw ingredients except for the rice paper. And the mango actually has a lot of digestive enzymes in it.
Making spring rolls looks hard, but it's actually pretty easy once you have your technique down. Chef Chris showed me how to assemble a great-looking spring roll.
So we have a rice paper wrapper that we've already soaked, and now I'm going to roll my own spring roll.
Well, good luck.
Okay, so put a little bit of the butter lettuce.
Right.
And then just a couple pieces of the
Yeah, the mango.
mango and just a little bit of the noodles. And we don't want to make this too big or we're going to have a hard time
Exactly.
rolling it.
Yeah. The bigger it gets, the more difficult it is to keep together.
And a little bit of carrot for some color.
Yeah.
Just one piece of cucumber.
One piece of cucumber's enough. The cucumber's cut a little thicker as well,
A little bit of jicama
which will give it some great texture.
and some cilantro. And just a teeny bit of mint.
Exactly.
And then we're going to start to roll this. And we just roll it once over.
That's right. Tighten it up a little bit there.
Okay, and then bring in the sides.
Bring in the sides, yeah.
And just roll
Roll
a
it
little
over
bit.
once.
And then we want to put some of our scallion in.
Yep.
And
Put your
maybe
section of
and
scallion in, let it protrude out one end.
Within minutes, our spring rolls were done.
For presentation, you can put them straight on the plate. But what I like to cut them so that the guests can see the profile, because it's really
See everything, 'cause it's so pretty.
It's a pretty item. So we'll cut it on a slight angle here, and we'll give for an appetizer probably about 2 of these.
These Asian-inspired dishes look great and taste even better, while still being low in calories and packed with nutrition. They're a quick way to make something that looks like you took all day to make it.
And I'm
Different kind of floral system there, maybe, compared to here?
It is normal in South African system. If you have half of your sentence, which in this case was 15 years, you are eligible for parole. Many people say he should have spent more time in prison, but it is in keeping with the justice system here. This case obviously garnered a lot of attention here in South Africa and around the world, also on issues of gender-based violence and violence against women. You know, the mother of Reeva Steenkamp, June Steenkamp, released a very powerful statement earlier today saying that there can never be any justice if your loved one is never coming back, and no amount of time served will bring Reeva back. We remain behind. Who remain behind are the ones serving a life sentence. You know, Sarah, she never believed that the story that Oscar Pistorius told, that he believed it was an intruder. She thought he killed her daughter intentionally, and certainly he did spend time for murder, and for now will still be locked away in that house in Pretoria. Sarah?
David, you always do such great reporting from there and around the world. Thank you so much for bringing us that story.
All right, popular diabetic and weight loss medications taken by millions of Americans under investigation by the FDA. The mental health worries putting those drugs under the microscope.
Sunday, the miracle on the Hudson, 15 years later.
This is one of those events that divides one's life into before and after.
How did it change Captain Sullenberger and those on board? The whole story with Anderson Cooper, Sunday at 8 on CNN.
I think I changed my mind about these glasses.
Yeah, it happens. That's why VisionWorks gives you 100 days to change your mind. It's simple. Anything else I can help you with?
Like what?
VisionWorks.
Going to relax and enjoy my soup and my spring rolls, and we'll be right back.
When Alive and Well returns, we'll check out some of the best spa treatments to help you relax and recharge. And then we'll get a great workout with our on-land surf lesson. Pacific Water Spa here at the Hyatt was designed to emulate a Spanish estate. And the spa prides itself on having some of the most unique and cutting-edge treatments available. With 20,000 square feet, fountains, indoor treatment rooms, and even a koi pond, the spa makes you feel more relaxed the minute you step into it. They even have a cafe where spa guests can get healthy snacks such as juice and smoothies. In addition to its obvious ties to the Pacific, the spa likes to have an outdoor flavor in their treatments with indoor-outdoor treatment rooms and the spa's own private secluded pool area. As peaceful as the surroundings are here at Pacific Waters, the treatments are some of the best in Southern California. Today I was going to try two of the most sought-after treatments, the Rainforest Scrub and Body Wrap and the Seawater Bath. So Beth, how is the Rainforest Scrub going to help keep our skin looking great?
Well, Michelle, the whole purpose of the scrub is to help exfoliate the dead skin cells off the body. And we're using a lavender scrub, so it's very calming and very soothing to the soul and to the body. Helps you relax and sets you up for the propolis that we're going to be using in the Rainforest Wrap. And the propolis that we're using is going to
for comfort throughout the day. They're preservative-free, gentle, and made with naturally inspired ingredients. Stay bio-true to your eyes.
I'm gonna sell my life insurance because I don't need it anymore. My kids are grown, my wife is great, let's settle up the score. It's time to travel to Paris. Spend retirement happy. Call 877-SELL-EASY. 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 And sell your policy. You can sell all or part. Live your life, play it smart. 877-SELL-EASY. And sell your policy.
If you've had a change in health or you're over 65 and paying for $100,000 or more in a life insurance policy you don't need, get paid for it instead.
Take the money that you get, gonna live it up, you bet. Call 877-SELL-EASY. 877-SELL-EASY. 877-SELL-EASY.
Many Lives of Martha Stewart starts Sunday, January 28th at 9 on CNN.
This is just coming into the newsroom. Abortion could be on the ballot in Florida this year. A coalition of abortion rights supporters announcing they have enough petition signatures to bring a state constitutional amendment protecting the right to an abortion to a vote in 2024. If it makes it to the ballot, it would require at least 60% of voters to pass and would effectively undo Florida's current 15-week abortion ban. The proposed amendment's language would still have to be approved by the state Supreme Court. It is currently being challenged, as you might imagine, by Florida's Attorney General.
The wildly popular diabetes and weight loss medications Ozempic and Wegovy are being taken by millions of Americans. The FDA is looking at reports of people having suicidal thoughts while taking the medications. A new study backed by the National Institutes of Health is shedding some light. CNN's Meg Terrell joins us now. What is in this study, Meg?
John, this is a massive review of people taking these medicines in the real world. The researchers here, both from Case Western Reserve University, as well as the National Institute on Drug Abuse, looked at a huge database of more than 100 million people in the U.S.'s electronic medical records. They compared people taking Ozempic or Wegovy for weight loss or type 2 diabetes with other medicines for those same conditions. And they looked at the rates of suicidal ideation for both. And what they found in this study is that there was actually a significantly lower risk for these two drugs compared with other medicines for the same diseases. For Wegovy, which is used for weight loss, they found a 73% lower risk of people having suicidal thoughts in the first 6 months while taking those medicines. And for Ozempic, or for people taking semaglutide for type 2 diabetes, the lower risk was 64%. And so this is a real world study of people using these drugs. These folks really wanted to get a sense of, is there really something here? Is there a signal? And what they found is, in fact, they're not seeing one.
So the FDA and European regulators, why and how are they looking at this?
Yeah, so the European probe started first, and that actually prompted the researchers to do this big study. They started this investigation because there were about 150 reports of people taking semaglutide, which is the drug name for these, or similar medicines who had had suicidal thoughts. And so you have to look into case reports like that. Similarly, here in the United States, the FDA has had case reports, about 144 of them in its online database. Just this week, they said they were looking into those. And so the regulators need to figure out whether there is a link here. So far, they say they haven't established one, but those reviews are ongoing.
And based on the NIH study, is it possible this means Ozempic and Wegovy may actually help mental health?
That is such an interesting question. We are seeing these medicines being tested for more and more things, and we know that the way they work is not just sort of in the gut to slow down our digestion and things like that, but they also have effects in the brain. And so there is a question here. Could they actually help with something like depression? There is at least one clinical trial going on to assess that now. The researchers say this study is, of course, not enough to prove that. It should not be used off-label for that use, but perhaps something to study in the future, John.
All right, Meg Terrell, very important stuff. So many people using these medications. Thank you so much.
All right, 15 years ago, Captain Chesley Sullenberger executed one of the most famous emergency landings in modern aviation history. When he landed U.S. Airways Flight 1549 in the middle of the Hudson River. This Sunday, The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper looks back at the harrowing details of that day when that pilot saved so many people, and in exclusive interviews with the crew and passengers, it looks at how their lives have been changed forever since. Here's a preview.
In the 280 seconds that we had from the time we hit birds to lost thrust until we had landed, I knew I had to take at least a few seconds of that time to make an announcement at the cabin, to tell the flight attendants and the passengers that we're going to make an emergency landing. I said, "This is the captain, brace for impact." I could hear the flight attendants in the front who began shouting their commands to the passengers in unison. Brace, 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 heads down, stay down, over and over again.
I sent my husband Steve a text message that was just one sentence that said, "My flight is crashing, period." And as I was typing it, my seatmate, he said, "Put that up." He said, "You're out of time." And that's a sentence that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, really, God? At 37? I'm out of time. I'm not going to be the mother of the bride. I'm not going to see my youngest son hit his first home run. I'm not a perfect mother, but I'm their mother. And to think that I wouldn't finish raising them was pretty hard.
Some powerful reporting there, and everybody remembers Sully's role in all this. It was an incredible day. Be sure to tune in to an all-new episode of The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper. 1 hour, one whole story, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, only right here on CNN.
So you do know that old cliche, the dog ate my homework.
I've used it.
Well,
It didn't work.
That is nothing compared to what one couple and one dog went through, or maybe went through is a poor choice of words here. Their dog Cecil, a golden doodle, ate $4,000 in cash.
Buddy, Cecil, bad dog. The Pittsburgh couple withdrew the funds to pay workers who had built a fence for them, but they say Cecil's expensive taste got the best of him 30 minutes later. Thankfully, their bank was understanding, accepting bills back. Oh, I wonder if they know what those bills have been through. With full serial numbers on both ends.
And
But-
it's just a bad choice of word here again.
I'm so sorry, but it meant the two had some dirty work to do, laundering bits of money from Cecil's, I'm sorry, y'all, doo-doo. Yeah. Listen, it's your dog, you gotta do it. I mean, I've been there. I mean, not with $4,000, but, you know. Sorry, John.
It's $2,450. You know, I mean, how much was it when you did it?
It's usually like, I don't have a dog anymore, but they swallow things, and then you're like, oh, it's gotta make sure you get it through the system.
$4,000 in cash.
I don't have $4,000 cash in my house. I got $4 that I can let you borrow if you need it. But that look at Cecil. I mean, he's so cute. Cecil can do no wrong. In my life, you know what? They just shouldn't have the money out. I'm sorry. I'm not blaming Cecil for this.
No, not his fault. He just likes the taste.
Of money. Don't we all?
Happening now. The Supreme Court. The best segue ever. The Supreme Court, we could hear any minute about whether they will take up the case of Donald Trump being banned from state ballots.
This man disappeared 48 hours ago.
We are this close. You gotta stop now.
I should never have touched this case.
True Detective, Night Country, streaming exclusively on Max. The day you get your... Clear Choice Dental Implants makes every day.
Ocean Voyages, designing all-inclusive experiences for the thinking person. Viking, voted world's best by both Travel and Leisure and Condé Nast Traveler. Learn more at Viking.com.
I won't let my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis symptoms define me.
Emerge as you. With Tremfya, most people saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months, and the majority stayed clearer at 5 years.
Serious allergic reactions may occur. Tremfya may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, or if you had a vaccine or plan to.
Emerge as you. Emerge Tremfyant. Ask your doctor about Tremfya.
Hits a smart center stage and is crushed by a baby grand piano.
You're replacing me?
Customize and save with Liberty Bibbity.
He doesn't even have a mustache.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Searching for your ideal hotel? Well, Trivago does all the work for you and instantly compares prices from hundreds of booking sites. Compare prices for the same hotel. Save up to $30 a night. Hotel Trivago.
The host of the Humankind Connection. Our show features stories of heroism, special relationships, and moments that truly show the best of humanity. We hope you'll join us right here on the USA Today channel.
I haven't got time for the pain, Philly kid. Yes, sir. Got room for the pain. Phil, what a friggin' night we got going on here tonight. This is unbelievable.
I know. Glad to be here. It's like 18 degrees outside, and we got snow. We're fixing to have about 10 inches of snow, so I'm just going to enjoy the show while I can.
I love when you say fixin'. Brings me right down there in the good old Southwest. Listen, Suki's off tonight, Phil in the co-pilot seat. We're going to start the show in 3, 2.
The Suki and Scott Show.
It's musical, magical.
You guys nailed it. You're great. You have great questions. You listen. You guys have such amazing energy. The Suki and Scott Show.
Ah, yes, indeed, Philly kid. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good.
I think, after last night's show, I don't know how we can get any better, but somehow we just continue to thrive, Phil. This is unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get shared up on my pages here so we can...
Share it up, my friend. Share it up. Let me see who's popping in tonight. We have an amazing show. I'm going to tell you who's on in just a second. Ann, Barbara, Rosemary, Jordan, my boy David Wells from Yobo in the house. Deborah, Jennifer, Susan. The minute we go on, everybody lights it up. Lynn, everybody all over the country. Philly kid, you know how big the show's getting, right? Well, not only are we big here in the United States, but we're big. We have viewers from all over the country.
Oh, yeah.
The Suki and Scott show was in the news in Kazakhstan.
What?
Kazakhstan, Phil. So Suki and I did a quick promotion for the singer Irie.
Yeah.
We did a quick promotion for her because she's a huge pop star in Kazakhstan. She did some pre-show stuff on the Super Bowl. Right, internationally, for the Super Bowl this year, and she's going to be on our show pretty soon.
Oh, nice.
So Suki and I did a little tease about her coming on the show, and I took a clip. Somebody sent me a clip. Our girl Sandra, who is also just a fantastic PR person, she took a clip and sent this to me. There are actually a couple of clips. This is one. I shortened it just to get to our piece, but this is one clip from a news station in Kazakhstan, and I can listen to them say Suki and Scott show all day long. Listen to this.
Айри выступила на онлайн-концерте Super Bowl 2021 во Флориде. Да-да, ассоциации с последним нашумевшим шоу уикенда неспроста.
На казахском языке, в оригинале.
Понравилось так, что известные американские ведущие Сукиня Кришнан и Скотт Стэнфорд сразу приметили Айри и даже пригласили на интервью. У нас прошло великолепное шоу, на котором выступала очень талантливая певица из Казахстана Айри. Она красивая, интересная и имеет ангельский голос. Это как раз-таки то, что нужно для нашего Суки and Scott шоу. С нетерпением ждем Айри у нас. Да и другие зрители тоже были.
Come on, how great is that?
Awesome, man.
Isn't that funny?
I couldn't understand a word, but sure understood Suki and Scott.
That was great. I got a kick out of that. We're on a couple of them, and so it's just, she'll be coming on.
The Trump disputes. Now, it's not an easy question, John, of just take a single case with a single question. There are several questions baked into these appeals that have landed on their doorstep. as a strong threshold matter, it's whether this question is too political for the justices to even handle. If it's something that should be beyond the domain of the judiciary, something that's called a political question. But then there's an issue of whether President Trump would even be covered by this. As you know, the trial judge in Colorado had originally said that the presidency is not covered by this provision that would bar anyone who engaged in an insurrection. It would cover other office holders. Now, the Colorado Supreme Court rejected that, but that could be another question that could be a hurdle for the Supreme Court. So what they're deciding, John, is not just whether to take the cases, but on what specific issues, and then the timing. And let me just mention two final things on timing. The parties to the cases have all stressed urgency. That's Donald Trump, the original Colorado voters that have challenged him, and the Colorado Republican Party that's already also in this case. And the voters have said, please decide by February 11th, which would be the day before the ballots in Colorado are set to be mailed out. The Colorado Republican Party has said, just please decide it by March 5th, which is Super Tuesday, when about 15 states have primaries, and Colorado balloting would be completed then. So that's the kind of the broader timetable. But then for what might happen today or early next week, today is the start of an in-person discussion among the justices about whether and how to take up these cases. They could give us an order as soon as this afternoon, John, but when I step back and think of the complexity of these questions, they might want to take a little bit more time to refine what they would decide. This is all about deciding what to decide, and also to set a briefing schedule, which would be the filings that would then come in, and then oral arguments, of course. But nothing is a given with this court. They have discretion on what cases they take up, but I think we all know that this is a question that only the justices can decide, and it's in their lap now. John.
Complicated issues, but we could hear as soon as today, so we are on alert, on standby. Joe, do not go far from a camera. In the meantime, Paula Reed, new cases arising on this front in Illinois and Massachusetts. What's going on here?
Oh, well, they're proliferating. Until the Supreme Court weighs in here, we can expect more and more challenges to be filed. Now, these new challenges in Massachusetts and Illinois, they rely on the same argument that has been litigated in multiple states over the past several months. And that is the argument that Trump should be disqualified from appearing on the 2024 ballot under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. This is the post-Civil War provision that bars insurrectionists from holding future office. Now, in Maine and Colorado, this was successful in removing him from the ballot. But in other states like Minnesota and Michigan, they never even got into the merits. They decided to keep him on the ballot just based on procedural grounds. So the door is still open for those to be reopened. Now, the other issue here, in addition to the question of how that particular section applies to Trump, the other question is, well, who should be enforcing this? This is another question that has been proposed to the Supreme Court. And here they file these challenges to the Massachusetts Ballot Commission and the Illinois Board of Elections. Now, there are arguments from the Republicans in Colorado and former President Trump that this should not be up to the states, that there is a role for Congress to litigate these issues of who should and should not appear on the ballot. Now, both of these new challenges were filed by People for Free Speech for People. They have been behind many of these state challenges, and they've signaled they're not going to stop. Let's take a listen.
This is the time to file a challenge in Illinois, and we will file additional challenges in additional states, because unless and until the U.S. Supreme Court issues a final ruling, this is a live issue everywhere in the country.
So the one area of consensus across former President Trump, Republicans in Colorado, the challengers, is that they need the Supreme Court to weigh in here. And until that happens, we will continue to see new filings like this.
All right. Urgency here. Joe Piscopo, Paula Reed, thanks to both of you.
And because of the urgency, I want to bring in former Manhattan prosecutor Jeremy Saland. Let's take another look at the map showing the 14th Amendment challenges against Donald Trump. There are so many of them that we're looking at. Now you see the key colors there, and some of the decisions have obviously been made, but there are some more that are coming up. Oregon, I think, is coming up as well. We've seen so many of these. Can you give us a sense of understanding these petitions, who filed them, what they intend to do with them, and of course there are Republicans in some of these states who have already challenged this, trying to get the Supreme Court to weigh in?
Well, we know now that there's at least 5 for free speech for people, which, as we just heard, was Oregon, which is the outstanding one that predates Illinois and Massachusetts, but they failed procedurally in Michigan before and Minnesota, pardon me. So these are people that have some voters, and you try to get the spectrum across. It's not just Democrats. You have a Republican, you have an unaffiliated or unenrolled voter, to petition the court to say the things we've heard before, a little bit of Groundhog Day, a little bit of Bill Murray, of he is not fit because why? He is an officer, he was involved in an insurrection, and it's not up to Congress. The states can decide these.
And what's interesting about the 14th Amendment is it doesn't say the word convicted. It doesn't even say the word accused. Like it's interesting because it's a little bit, I don't know if nebulous. I should not be commenting on the Constitution, as I am not a constitutional lawyer. But this is something the Supreme Court, don't you think, is going to pick up? I mean, this is becoming an issue of voters' rights as well. As you look at this, if you say this person cannot be on a ballot, you are affecting a huge voting population.
I mean, there's some folks who will just say, listen, the voters should decide if they want that person or not. But this is a deeper issue, and I can't fathom a situation at this point in time where the Supreme Court does not step in and do something. It would be such a disservice. Now, it shouldn't be, as Trump's attorney was speaking before, that Kavanaugh, because Trump went to battle for him, that therefore he should vote and make a decision in his favor, but they have to render a decision on the merits. Is this Congress's choice? Is he an officer? Is this the process by which we follow to eventually say there was an insurrection? It has to happen.
I'm no lawyer, but I would be shocked if they said that he wasn't an officer. I mean, the President of the United States, an official, that would be a very interesting decision.
Well, you look at the strict language, and it doesn't say the president, but at the same time, when you look at these Supreme Court justices, many of whom are we call them originalists or textualists, they're looking at the intent at the time. And is it reason to believe that the president would not be included post-Civil War? It would be any previous office holder who was engaged in an insurrection. So I think practically speaking, and the intent would include that. But we'll see from the Supreme Court justices.
It could happen any moment that they pick up this case. And I'm just curious, lastly, if they pick the case up and you have all these pending cases, do those judges in those cases say, hold on a minute, let's see what the Supreme Court says here?
Well, all these things have to move forward, and they have to proceed. Okay. But at some point, it becomes sort of, I don't want to say waste of time because that's belittling it. That's not what I'm saying. It becomes moot, correct. Because they're going to have to render a decision from the Supreme Court and say, this is what we're doing, now we're going to follow.